Hey, this is Order Militaris TV. Another report from Gatestone Institute called The Fracturing of France. It is the true image of the French heritage, the Sacred Heart of Jesus. Have mercy on us. Pardon me if I don't speak too well or too loud. Jaw's going nuts. It's been chattering for 3 days now. And for 3 days, going on a little sleep because of it. Well, let's get to the report. The Fracturing of France by Gérard Collomb. 2 bullet points. In a new program, Macron's government is offering Arabic lessons in France's public schools to children as young as 6 years old, reportedly to facilitate integration. French authorities seem to ignore the vast majority of terrorists from France have been French citizens who spoke perfect French, and like their parents, were born in France. They were perfectly integrated. They rejected it. Get some cold water here. Seems to help. There we go. Now the report begins. The U.S. President Donald Trump and French President Emmanuel Macron engaged in a public diplomatic clash just days before Trump visited France this month. The spat began when, in a radio interview, Macron suggested that Europe needed an army to protect itself from the U.S. We have to protect ourselves with respect to China, Russia, and even the United States, said Macron. Protecting France from the United States. In a November 11th speech commemorating World War I, Macron, in a diplomatic welcome to his guest, attacked nationalism. President Trump had proudly called himself a nationalist less than 3 weeks before. Macron, it seems, was using armistice signed in 1918 to forget what is going on in France in 2018. Gérard Collomb, France's Interior Minister until last month, currently Mayor of Lyon, is apparently pessimistic about the situation in his country, according to the comments reported by Valeurs Actuelles. People do not want to live together, Collomb lamented. Excuse me. Continuing that the responsibility for security during the recent immigration has been huge. Collomb also warned that there is only a little time to improve the situation. It's difficult to estimate, but I would say that in 5 years, the situation could become irreversible. Yes, we have 5 or 6 years to avoid the worst, he added. The worst will be a succession, or as Gilles Capel, the French specialist on Islam, called le fracture. Macron, however, does not seem particularly receptive to Colomb's warning. A man reportedly shouting "Allahu Akbar" stabbed a police officer in Brussels this week during a state visit by Macron to Belgium's capital. the first for a French president since Mitterrand visited there in the 80s. Macron also went to Brussels' Molenbeek district, which he defined a territory marked by the image of the terrorist drama, and also a place of initiatives, sharing and integration. Sharing and integration? Question mark. Eight people were arrested in March 2018 in a counter-terrorist raid in Molenbeek. A confidential report revealed last year the police in the same Brussels district uncovered 51 organizations with suspected ties to jihadi terrorism. Many of the suspects involved in the Paris and Brussels terrorist attacks either lived in or operated from Molenbeek. As Julia Lynch wrote in the Washington Post, excuse me, regarding Molenbeek, one of 19 communes in the Brussels metro area, the neighborhood was home to one of the attackers in the 2004 commuter train bombings in Madrid, and to the Frenchman who shot 4 people at the Jewish Museum in Brussels in August 2014. The Moroccan shooter on the Brussels-Paris Tylos train in August 2015 stayed with his sister there. If there is a place where Collomb's explanation about succession is not only a warning, but already a reality, that place is Molenbeek. Roger Collomb in the New York Times called it the Islamic State of Molenbeek. And such districts are not on a Belgian phenomenon. Today we know that there are 100 neighborhoods in France that have potential similarities with what happened in Molenbeek, said France's then Minister of Youth Affairs and Sports, Patrick Canner, in 2016. One is the town of Trappes, not only famous for the international soccer star Nicolas Anelka, but also for the number of jihadis from there who went to fight in Syria and Iraq. In France, 6 planned terrorist attacks have been foiled this year, the Secretary of State of the Minister of Interior, Laurent Nunez, disclosed. Since November 2013, 55 planned Islamic attacks were foiled thanks to the action of the intelligence service, including 6 this year, Nunez said. In the last few months, the current French scenario has not been dominated by new big terrorist attacks, but a daily rain of intimidation. Recently, a Frenchman in his 60s was walking down a Paris street with wrapped Christmas gifts last week when a stranger knocked off his eyeglasses before slapping him. That's what we do to the infidels, the attacker said to the man. A few days before that, a French Jewish citizen was also attacked in the street by 3 men. Her hand was stabbed. Remember that? Only place you'll see it is when the videos finally break out of France. On the ideological front, Macron is following in the footsteps of presidents who have tried and failed to establish an Islam of France. Most of these news sources being quoted, they aren't conservative, Trump-supporting papers, but left-leaning papers, total lefty papers in America. There's another one, Politico, reported according to the Wall Street Journal, another anti-Trump paper, but yet telling the truth. God bless him for it. Now, President Emmanuel Macron's government is considering giving parents a secular alternative to the intertwining of Arabic and Islam by prodding more of France's public schools to offer children as young as age 6 Arabic lessons. Robert Menard, the mayor of the southern town of Béziers, declared that teaching Arabic will create more ghettos. French authorities seem to ignore that the vast majority of terrorists from France have been French citizens who spoke a perfect French, and like their parents were born in France, they were perfectly integrated, and they rejected it. Excuse me. The confirmation of the Islamist wave came last September in a shocking report from the Institute Montaigne. Forgive me if I'm butchering it. Entitled The Islamist Factory. It details the extreme level of radicalization of the French Muslim society. According to its director, Akam El Koroui, extremist Muslims in France are creating an alternative society, parallel and separate, with a key concept, halal. That is how they are to butcher the meat. And before they can butcher the meat, they have to graphically kill the animals. Which in fact also ruins the meat. Anyway, back to the report. Macron has done almost nothing to stop this expansion. Unbelievable. Two or three Salafist mosques were closed in 18 months, but foreign funding of mosques was not banned, said National Front Party leader Marine Le Pen recently. The goal of foreign funding has been detailed by the former chairman of the Christian Democratic Party, Jean-Frédéric Pouzon, in his new book, Islam, Conquering the West. What a title. Never thought I'd hear that. But it's true. The expansion of Islam in the West is a part of a strategic plan developed by the 57 states that make up the Organization of Islamic Cooperation, a sort of Muslim United Nations, would serialize the spread of Sharia law in Europe. Poisson said in an interview this month, they openly declare the ambition to install a substitution civilization in the West. There is, however, more than a cultural level. Philippe de Villers, a politician and essayist close to Macron, recently evoked a phrase coined by his brother, General Pierre de Villers, the former head of the French military. General de Villers had warned Macron about a possible internal implosion in the volatile Parisian suburbs to the darker sides of the City of Light. According to Philippe de Villers, his brother would have said to Macron, if the suburbs revolt, we would not be able to cope with it. We cannot afford to face it. We do not have the men. Oh, man. Two journalists with the mainstream newspaper, Le Monde, Gerald Devet and Fabrice Lehome, recently published a book entitled Inshallah, Islamization out of Issues to Covert, or English, If Allah Wills, the Exposed Face of Islamization. An investigation of the Islamization of the large Parisian suburb of Saint-Denis, the place where the kings and queens of France are buried. You guys rise to protect France. There in many other suburbs, anti-Semitism is rising. According to the French Prime Minister Edouard Philippe, recorded anti-Jewish acts rose by 69% in the first 9 months of 2018. Francis Califat, president of the official body that represents the French Jewish communities, has called anti-Semitism a cancer. In a report this summer from Paris, the New York Times has detailed Jewish exodus from the multicultural suburbs. More than 50,000 have moved to Israel since 2000, compared with about 25,000 French Jews who left between 1982 and 2000. There is also an internal exodus in Alunay-sous Bois. The number of Jewish families dropped to 100 in 2015 from 600 in 2000. Le Brun-Mesnil to 100 families from 300 in Clichy-sous-Bois. There are now 80 Jewish families, down from 400. In La Cogneuve, there are 80 families, down from 300. We may be living the end of our civilization, ours, says Philippe de Vieuse. Says a French politician and novelist. There are 2 points in common between the decay of the Roman Empire and our own decay. The Roman senatorial nobility, who thinks only adding a layer of porphyry to their bathtubs, no longer considers the lines, the borders of the empire, as an emergency to secure. It seems that Macron has been busy only in adding a layer of porphyry to the France's grandeur. Last year Macron presented himself as the candidate making a break with the system. In 5 years his presidential mandate will be over. According to his former Interior Minister, Gérard Collomb, these will probably be the last years before the real break could become irreversible, not only for France, but also for Europe. Everything that is happening in Europe, everything that is happening in my beloved France, the European Union, their buddies, Emmanuel Macron, Angela Merkel, and all the others, should be and must be held responsible for the destruction of Europe, for the numerous deaths, woundings, maimings, assaults on the people. They need to be held accountable. I have 5 or 6 years to save France. The French Republic is a disaster. The only way you're going to save France is if you get rid of the French Republic. Brought in multiculturalism and all this mess. And restore it to the proper ruling family. The Capet and Bourbon family. Outlaw everything multicultural. Outlaw Islam, Sharia law. Shut down all these mosques, tear them down. End the funding round up every single one of these terrorists that have killed people, reinstate capital punishment, and execute them. It's the only way you're going to fix the gas, taxes, everything, taxes. The only way you're going to build up your military, your police force, to restore law, justice, and order, to restore your sovereignty, is restore the Catholic monarchy in France. Get rid of everything socialist. Because as you can see, has made France a war zone. So I urge the members of the House of Capet and Bourbon to do what they can do. The people rioting against Macron for all of his crazy stuff, including the police joining people. This government needs to go. It's not keeping France safe. It's literally allowing Islam to grow in power to overtake it. By his inactions. By him trying to rewrite the history and culture of France. Only way to liberate those suburbs and get people to go back in there. Restore what they've lost. Need a strong SWAT team of police and a lot of soldiers, which France does not have because, like every other socialist country in Europe, they don't have the money for it. So with seems like 5 to 6 years, France won't be France. But I do trust in miracles. Miracles do happen. Not only do the French people need to continue to speak out Wake up. Sure, you need gas in your cars to travel for holidays, going to your folks on Christmas, Thanksgiving, Easter, what have you. And also drive to and from work. You have something bigger you need to protest. The saving of your country. The stopping of this Islamic takeover of France. This is just amazing. The number of French people who left also all the Jewish families. Year marches, year rallies, do them to save France. Day is full.